It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, my friends, welcome to the Luzerne County Report. Yes, we are now starting each month a Luzerne County Report to let you know what's happening in our county. $400 million budget. That's our money that they're playing with, okay? 1.6 millage. Okay, what do we know about the council? What do we know about the county, etc.? We get up in the morning, we don't say, well, let's see, what is the Luzerne County Council doing today? No. But what we try to do with these shows, as you know, all the reports we have is to bring you information. But today, I'm very happy to have not only Romilda Crocamo, who is the county manager, but we have the chair, John Lombardo, and we have the vice chair, Brian Thornton, who is going to give us an education. All right, let's get to business. So what's happening in the county? What are you doing with our money?
Well, right now, we have two major projects that we're involved in, and they happen every year. We have the election and we have our budget. So we're really laser focused on those two areas right now.
Tell me about what's happening with the election, because we're reading about different things about what's happening. You know, is it going to be, can we trust this election this year?
You can absolutely trust the election. You can trust our process. We need to wait for the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to make a ruling on the 117th to finalize the ballots, but other than that, they're ready to go. We hope that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court rules this week. We anticipate getting a ruling, but everything else is in place. We are upping our security measures for poll workers and our workers within the Penn Place building where the Election Bureau is. It will be safe and fair and open. We will be starting our weekly updates that we publish about all the tasks that have to be completed for the election and where we are in that process.
What are some of the important things that our viewers should know?
Well, first of all, obviously, if you have you want a mail-in ballot, you have to fill out an application, and if you filled one out, they're being processed and the mail-in ballots will be mailed out to you. You can put them in the U.S. Mail Postal Office and they're stamped and then we will process them. The other thing that voters have to realize that even if you do get a mail-in ballot and you don't use it, you can go to the polls on election day and vote. We have a very accurate system of our registered voters, and you can be given a provisional ballot at the polling site and vote. There are a lot of options to vote, and we have them, our books are current.
So you're saying if I mail in the votes, I can still go to the...
Yes.
Am I not voting twice?
No, you're not.
Okay.
No. Because if you get a mail-in ballot and you mail it in and perhaps it doesn't reach the office in time, you can go, you get a provisional ballot, and that provisional ballot will be reviewed by the board. So everything gets logged in. All the mail-in ballots and all the ballots get logged into our system.
When do they open up the mail-in ballots?
We cannot process them until 8 o'clock on election night.
Okay, so election night is when the ballots are looked at, the mail-in ballots.
Yes.
But if I voted throughout the day, okay, that will, so...
You get logged in because you check in at the polling site.
Okay, so, but you don't know that I had a mail-in ballot? We will know. You will know after you open them up, okay. And what's the second project you said you're working on?
The budget.
The budget, okay. And how's the budget coming?
It's a challenge. I did make a promise, and I'm going to keep the promise, that I'm not going to submit a budget to County Council that has a tax increase. We started last year to really look at our expenses so that we can tighten them up, and we're still doing that this year. I have to thank my division and department heads. They do advocate for their staff, but we really are paring down what the expenses are. So we have to submit the budget to council in October, and then we'll have a series of public budget hearings, and the public will be able to listen to what we're doing.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. So John and Brian,
Yes.
okay, let me tell you a little story about when the change was being made from council to from the county commissioners. I was not for this. I was not for it. I didn't think it would be a good thing until a guy by the name of Rick Morelli, who was always on the show, said, Sammy, let me tell you. And so he gave me an education as that. And I figured, okay, fine. Then when you brought Dave Pedri on and I saw the progress being made, which he did a fabulous job, I think it was great. I said, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm not being fair here, okay? So looking at, John as the chair, and first of all, congratulations to you because you're a full-time fireman.
Thank you.
And you find time for serving the public, and I think that's very admirable of you, okay? Tell me, why this is a good thing having a county council versus the county commissioners.
So I think one of the things that you said about not originally being for the home rule system, I actually felt the same way when home rule was being passed. I thought at the time that it was more about the people in the government rather than the type of government. I still sort of believe that, but I feel that with home rule, we have sort of gotten to a really good place. Our charter has mandated us to do a lot of different things, including paying down our debt, balancing our budget, and it really makes us work together with our administration. So having good people both on the council and in the manager's seat and in the administration really is important. So home rule, I think, has really been a net positive for Luzerne County, and it really prevents us from getting back to the ways that it used to be.
Brian, as vice chair, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I looking back and having lived in Luzerne County almost my entire life since 1960, I'm very familiar with the three commissioner system, and as you may recall, under that system, and I'm not blaming anyone in particular, but we ran up a debt in this county of $466 million of debt. So basically, they were passing budgets without enough income on the income side, and the expenses were higher. And it went on year after year, and they would just borrow the difference. And I always said, could you imagine if you ran your household that way?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Eventually you lose your house. So it looked to me that eventually the county was going to be in tremendously dire straits. As a matter of fact, I remember sitting on my front porch on a Saturday morning reading the local newspaper, and when it said the county was $466 million in debt, I got so upset because I lived here most of my life. I ran in the house. I was on Borough Town Council at the time in West Pittston, and I said to my teenage kids and my wife, this is insane. The county will never, ever pay this debt off. The young people are going to have to pay all the increased taxes for decades to come, and we've buried ourselves in a hole we'll never get out of. And I said, I will never, ever run for a county position, ever. I said, because there's no winners.
Well, the audience should know that, you were in finances.
Right.
Okay, for
30 years.
Okay, so that's why you really saw the effect. That's an interesting point. Right. I never looked at that way, Brian.
And I got
to So you beat Rick on something.
Well, I got to tell you, we're only there almost 3 years, John and I. But county council's been there, 12 years, 14 years almost. And the predecessors to us have done an enormously great job because they have whittled that debt, and they haven't borrowed any money in about 13, 14 years. They've whittled that debt down. I think it's down to about 140 million maybe now, 130, 140 million. And we're going to keep going on that path till we get that to zero. And once we get to zero debt, there's a lot of debt service we're paying every month now on those loans to the tune of about 25 million a year. So we won't have to pay that anymore. And that's coming in
2029, we have
years.
half of our debt service. We'll only have to pay about 12 million, and then 2030 we'll be totally out of debt.
John, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it really is amazing, and it's a testament
That's a very interesting point that Brian just brought up. I did not know that.
It's a testament to the work that I think all of the previous councils and managers have done since home rule was enacted. It really probably wasn't easy, and it still is not easy for us to not take on more debt, because there are a lot of projects that I think we really want to do here in Luzerne County and try to improve the lives of the citizens. For example, one thing that we've been talking about the last couple of years since Brian and I have been on council is the potential for building a new prison. Our current prison is over 100 years old, and we spend a lot of money on it in our budget, and a lot of money that's not in our budget every single year, just on repairs and general maintenance, things like that for such an old building. So that's something that we certainly have been looking at, but to not take on that debt right now is very important to us. We really want to get to a point where we don't have to pay that $25 million every year, and we can start spending that money on things that are actually going to make a difference.
Looking at council and looking at when I was on the board of trustees at the college, each person that was appointed on the board had something to offer. Okay, you have finances plus what we call common sense, which sometimes people don't know what that's all about. But looking at your council, okay, and looking at what each person could bring to the table to help Romilda, what is that council, what does it look like?
I think we have an awesome council right now. We have a very diverse set of skill sets. Myself being a first responder, I think one of the positive qualities that I bring to council is being able to work well under pressure and really work with anybody. It doesn't matter if there's somebody that maybe I got into an argument with at the dinner table or something like that. When push comes to shove, when the rubber meets the road, we're willing to work together. Councilman Haas has been on council for 10 years prior, and he's back on now, so he has a lot of experience. Councilwoman McDermott, for example, is a business owner. She's a real estate agent, and she has a lot of experience in the real estate aspect. So just having some of that wide breadth of knowledge and experience with other council members is really important, because it just brings different insights to the table when we're talking about different issues.
Brian, did you find that as well?
Yeah, and I got to say, Sam, that's a great point you brought up. One advantage of having 11 council members versus 3 commissioners is the breadth of experience that comes to the table. I was in finance for 30 years, but prior to that, my degree is in engineering, and I worked in civil engineering positions for 8 years in New York City and Northern Jersey. And I had a focus on bridge, road construction, design, things like that, the bidding process, working with contractors, and boy, you get an education in New York City when you're working with major contractors there. So although that was a long time ago, I know Romilda and I have a lot of conversations. She calls me all the time. She says, we're looking to do this bridge project, that bridge project. We recently brought on a brand new engineering firm, Riley Engineering.
Correct.
And they're doing a tremendous job for us, prioritizing all the road projects that have to get done. And at the top of the list, we have the ones in the worst shape, right? And we're going to do that. But the other council members, Kevin Lescavage, he's worked for 40 years now, and he's still working for Reading Anthracite Company. And as such, he's so familiar with heavy equipment and trucking and things of that nature, which really helps our road and bridge department.
Absolutely.
Right? And our building and grounds department. So she calls Kevin, not daily, but probably 3 times a week. And I just think with all these different council people with the backgrounds they have, I think it benefits the voter, the constituents.
And I'm not afraid to call them and ask them for their expertise.
This is when I keep saying this, but I always believed in advisory boards, because there's so much talent that we have in this county that they're retired and they want to make use of their knowledge. And boy, we have a wealth of knowledge. You're not charging the county for the information you're giving, a consultant fee. There's literally thousands upon thousands of dollars that we're getting in free information from, and so I always had advisory boards, because you sit down and they would answer those questions. Do you find that with your board?
I do, and I go to as many advisory board meetings as I possibly can, but we do. And the beauty is Luzerne County does have that wealth of knowledge in Luzerne County.
Loaded with
we
it.
do not have to go outside of Luzerne County, but I am particularly I could probably say the word dependent on both John and Brian and some of the other council members for their expertise. Greg Wilovich is an accountant, so I reach out to them if there's questions or if I just need some guidance, and I think it's working out really well.
I'll tell you, I'm learning. I'm learning. My friends, this is why we had this show called the Luzerne County Report. It's interesting, but boy, Brian hit an interesting point about, you know, the fact that we were in so much debt, and now we're getting out of debt. That's going to be great for us, because when that's paid, it's going to be a tremendous boom for Luzerne County. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Luzerne County Report, my friends. Yes, starting every month now, we'll have a Luzerne County Report telling you what's going on. I'm telling you, if you just tune in, you want to go to our website, look at the Sam Lesante Show / Luzerne County. I'm learning a lot on this show. I have the chair and the vice chair of the council on board, and as well as our county manager, Romilda Crocamo, Brian Thornton and John Lombardo. John's the county chair. Now, we're going through changing the charter. Okay, so let's address that. John, Brian, which one? Yeah.
So right now, last year, County Council approved a ballot measure to create a government study commission. The citizens voted on it, and they want a government study commission. They elected 7 commission members, and right now what they are doing is taking a really deep dive, a forensic look at our county charter. It's been about 12 years since it's been enacted, so they want to take a look and see if the charter's working. And I think that most of them, from what I've read, from what I've seen, believe that the charter generally is working, that home rule is working for Luzerne County, but there are some inconsistencies in it that make it difficult to operate as it relates to state law and just some other practical things that have been just slightly problematic for us. So we want to get those things changed, and they're not really political issues. They're not like Democrat or Republican issues. They're just structural problems that we have with the charter that make it a little bit difficult to operate as the government. So that's something that I think the voters really need to take a look at when it does come to fruition, when they do bring the charter amendments to the voters, and determine if they agree with them.
So Brian, you guys the council have any input with the commission?
No, by rule, we're not allowed to interfere at all with that, because obviously we're politically elected, and it's supposed to be an independent body operating completely independently. I could say this, Sam, that I get a lot of emails from county constituents. I'm sure John gets dozens and hundreds, and they don't understand why we're having this study commission. Why? Well, I got to go back to the original government study commission that formed our original charter. They did a yeoman's job, tremendous job, produced a great product, and it's guided us for over a dozen years now. And the problem is 97% of it is great. There's probably 3% of it or so that has conflicting legal language, which conflicts with state laws. And you know, we can't form laws in a county that trump state laws. So we have to fix that. Now, we spent probably 2 years, our first 2 years on the job here, trying to fix it ourselves at council meetings. And we would introduce amendments to the charter, and each time we were knocked down by legal opinions saying you can't make structural changes. Council is not allowed to make structural changes to the charter. We said, but it makes sense. This doesn't matter. We can't do it. The only way you can make that change or that change or that change is to have a new government study commission.
Oh, okay.
And that's why we have this government study commission. We're not necessarily saying get rid of the charter or change it. They could vote to keep it exactly the same. They could vote to make changes, or they could vote to go back and to the original 3-commissioner system, which we hope they do not, but that's my opinion.
Wow, I'll tell you, there's so much information that the people don't know. So I hope this doesn't become a political thing. I hope it becomes a factual thing, as you're saying, because if you're bringing those things, I think we may have run into a couple things when we were trustees, some similar things like that. But we had Attorney Kluger, Alan Kluger, who was our solicitor, brilliant person. And you run into these things, and if the public, we don't see the internal things every day. We don't know what you're doing every day. Okay, all we read is sometimes headlines or whatever. And if we could just present the facts of what's happening, to educate the consumer, you're not out to hurt them. But look what you've accomplished so far, don't you?
Right.
Don't you feel that way?
Absolutely. And sometimes we have to make difficult decisions, and there's a lot of elements and reasons that go into making decisions that sometimes we can't even make public. For example, personnel decisions, which in the charter, the county manager has the authority over personnel decisions. Council does not. But sometimes I have to make really, really difficult decisions, and I can't go out and publicly reveal why I'm making those decisions. But they have to be done. But the difference now with the commission, why the commission is existing today, is to really fine-tooth the charter. The reason why the commission came into place 13, 14 years ago was because of the fact that there was corruption in government. I wasn't part of the government then, but I know people who were, and they said the FBI agents were in and out of the buildings and they were escorting people out. That's not happening now.
Thank God.
Thank God. And it's not going to happen under my watch or under their watch because we won't tolerate it. But the fact of the matter is the system that we have right now is probably one of the most transparent form of governments in all of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I go to the CCAP meetings, which is the County Commissioner Association in Pennsylvania, and we actually have more information made public than a lot of my colleagues in the other counties. And we're going to continue to do that. We are the keepers of the public trust and the public monies. And I have to also say that our controller, Walter Griffith, has also been very important in this process. He works well with me, he works well with council. And this council and this administration shows, and our other elected officials, our district attorney, who's always supportive of me and of council, the fact that when we work together, we're working together and we're making Luzerne County a much better place.
You also, council, there's a lot of people out there like to be on certain boards that we have in the county that have, like you said, Brian, you know, if there was a board that required, you know, financial person or an engineer, and you have time, you'd like to be on that board. So the different boards, the council appoints the members for the boards, like the arena board and the county commissioners, the trustees. So how does one become involved, and if they have a talent that they want to be part of a board?
So you can go on our website, Luzerne County, LuzerneCounty.org, and there should be a tab underneath the government tab. You go to County Council, and then there should be a tab that says Authorities, Boards, and Commissions, and there's an application for the Authorities, Boards, and Commissions, which we call the ABCs for short. And then you can apply for whichever one that interests you or that you have experience in. Certainly when you're applying, make sure that you have the right credentials to apply, and there are certain restrictions, which actually goes a little bit back to the Government Study Commission. There's some inconsistencies with who's eligible to sit on authorities versus boards and commissions, and it's very inconsistent, and it makes it a little confusing for us as council when we go to make those appointments, and it also makes the public confused. So, but if you're interested in sitting on one of those boards, please go to our website and check them out. And they all do very good things.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that there's a wealth of talent out there that people have, you know, they don't know it's available, and I think it'd be a great opportunity.
It's Sam, I got to jump in. I currently am the chair of the ABC committee, which is Authorities, Boards, and Commissions Committee. And when there's openings on these boards, for whatever reason, and we get these applications in, we hold public interviews, which are telecast live on Zoom, and people come sit in the audience, and we interview them in public, each candidate who wants a board position, say on the arena board or a mental health agency board or something like that. And I think it's working real well now. I'm there almost 3 years, John is almost 3 years, because honestly, I'm not saying this because we're on your show, but we're not looking at whether they're a Democrat appointee or Republican appointee. Everyone probably knows Romilda's a Democrat, I'm Republican, he's Republican. We have 4 new Democrats on county council. I think we're all working well together because we're not going down that road of political division, which is at the state level and the federal level, but it doesn't belong in the county level. And I really mean that. So when we interview candidates, say the position on a board requires a nursing background or doctor's background, medical doctor. We don't care if they're a D or an R.
Fabulous.
That's who gets appointed. Yep. And that's working real well with all
great.
of our boards now.
I'm so glad to hear that. That is absolutely great.
And yeah, going back to one of the things that Romilda said before about transparency. So we do all of these interviews in the public. We have all of our meetings at times when the public can make it. All of our documentation is accessible to the public. So everything that we do is done in the public eye. And that's something that when we had the commissioner system, that wasn't always done that way. So I know me personally, I've been very proud of that and very proud that I can point anybody in whatever direction they need to go when they're looking for a piece of information. And if they're not satisfied with something that's happening, I tell them, come to our meetings. Explain what you want, and we're happy to help you if we can.
Our meetings are very unintimidating. It's not like it was 20 years ago when they had maybe 2 people from the public show up at a meeting.
Yeah.
They all get a chance to speak for
That's
3
great.
minutes at the
Yeah,
podium.
yeah.
Actually, they get a total of 9 minutes between the 2 meetings.
The interesting thing is I'm so glad you decided to do a Luzerne County report, because information like this that people do not know the internal workings. I mean, I've learned a lot. I thought I know some, but I really learned a lot. But your point hit me with like a ton of bricks on the the debt we had, etc. And so it's just good to know the public knows. Okay. We know what's happening. My millage is working. So anytime, Romilda's in charge every month with the county. If there's any input, any board member, et cetera, that you want to explain, particularly as things progress with the charter, changing the charter, that's what the show is all about.
I'll be back.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot. That's appreciated.
Thank you. Always good to see you.
Thank you very much.
My friends, it's called the Luzerne County Report. We have the Luzerne County Community Report, College Report. We have the Visiting Luzerne Report. We have the Mayor's Report in Hazelwood, Mayor Cassatt, Mayor's Report in Pottsville with Mayor Clues, and the Schuylkill Report. Trying to keep you informed. Remember, 24/7, ssptv.com. Thank you for making this show the #1 talk show in Northeastern Pennsylvania. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.